Hello, my friends. I am here with Derek Parent today, and I am looking forward to introduce him. He's here in his home office, ready to see you guys. And first, let me introduce him, my little assistant today. Her name is Lulu. She is this little Havanese that I have for a couple years, and she is helping me in my real estate business. So many of you know that I am Yelena Brezhneva. I am a global real estate advisor. I am licensed in Nevada and California. And I'm here today with Derek Parent from Crosscountry Mortgage, the parent team. I've known Derek for a while, and he has a reputation of a solid professional businessman. I love personally Derek, and I'm happy to have him today here on our YouTube. And he'll be talking about all the changes that are happening right now in the mortgage industry. We are in uncharted waters. A lot of is unknown, and it's stressing people out. So let's hear today from Derek to know what's really going on in the mortgage industry. And is this actually a good time, Derek? Hopefully you'll be able to mention to buy, refinance, or to sell. Okay, and I am switching my cameras right now. Hi Derek, you're on.
Hi, how are you?
We are
Thank
good.
you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
There's been a lot of talk, especially over the last, few weeks about what's going on with COVID and lending. And I know I put out a lot of information not that long ago about some of the investors that are not doing jumbo financing or so forth. So with that said, there was a lot of like non-QM, which would be qualified mortgages, your bank statement loans and what have you. A lot of those typical like direct to Wall Street execution loans, they went away, right? So your standard Fannie Mae, Freddie, FHA, VA, they're still very strong loans. There's still a lot of great jumbo products out there. Just a lot of investors who invested on the jumbo side, who went directly to Wall Street, just not doing business right now. The thing with that strikes me the most was the Feds came out, I believe it was Thursday, and they're putting $600 billion into buying mortgage-backed securities. So that should free up a lot of capital for lending going forward. You asked the question beginning of this, so I think it's a good time. I think it's a great time to buy because last month we had record-breaking months in home sales. This month it's going pretty much the same. I think the difference is that we don't know where we're going to be, on the 31st of April. Continue on, the stay-at-home order, or if we're going to gradually start going back. I believe if at the end of the month or any beginning of May they allow us to get back to work, I think it's going to be business as usual without any dip in the real estate market. There's just been a lot of great things that have that happened. Especially like this town, it's always poised for growth. We've grown dramatically over the last 10 years from our last crash. Just the difference in this one, it's a medical crisis, not a financial collapse of the economy, not a real estate bubble, but just medical crisis. So it's definitely different than the last crash, I would tell you that.
Eric, we have a question. So do you have a lot of cancellations of escrow right now? What are you dealing with mortgage rates and people that are trying to still close on their transactions?
Yeah, so we have actually had zero cancellation. We have around 37 transactions in our pipeline and zero. The only thing we have though is one of our refinances with one of our clients. 50% of his income was tips. So he's still employed, but we can't use the tips because technically the business is not doesn't have patrons coming in, but he's still working as a manager. So that we have to wait until the business reopens again. But that's just put on hold, not canceled, right? So we're not seeing it. I think right now what we are seeing is a huge influx of refinances. refinances are coming in. One, before COVID really hit us in America, the Feds lowered interest rates to near zero. So what that did, that created a huge flood of influx of refinance loans. So refinancing purchases, they were just coming in. So lenders had to re-put the interest rates up just a little bit to stop some of the influx of business, right? They went from like 2 trillion to 10 trillion. It was huge, right? So what happened was, then COVID hit. So when COVID hit, it just took the whole economic system by storm, and rates didn't go anywhere. They just stayed flat. So what we're seeing was all those people that wanted to refinance, they're still coming in, they're still refinancing because interest rates are still at all-time low. But I think what's different now is, I've seen it a lot too with people with equity rich, cash poor. They had all this equity in their property, but they had no money to pay their bills. Like what people are going on with now. So when people lost their job or they had to get furloughed, if they had that savings, set aside, they would be able to pay the mortgage and do some other things. So we encourage people, if you have debt, consolidate the debt, lower the interest rates. Rates are still really low. Lower the interest rates, get rid of the mortgage insurance. I firmly believe, if you're at 80% now and you can get rid of your mortgage insurance and save $400 or $500 a month now, skip a couple of months payments, right? You're only going to set yourself up in a better situation for June and July. My thoughts are, if this lasts longer, if this goes into like May or we don't start opening until June, I have a thought that we can see a deep, loss in our as far as equity. Houses coming down a little bit in value.
What do you see? Could you comment a little bit about mortgage rates? Because I've heard that mortgage rates are different. They're changing every day. Today you might be closing transaction at a certain rate, and then next day it's 1 point up. So there are jumps, huge jumps, right? Day to day. Would you comment on that?
Yeah. So I would say that I have not seen anything in 20 years. I have not seen any rate jump up by 1 full % in 1 year. We do have a price model where you have a pricing model where you can see like certain investor, if it's a refinance over 70% or if it's a purchase at like 85, you can see like a 25 basis point, even a 30 basis point, jump up, which is in pricing, right? So round numbers, like we locked in a client last week at 275 on a 30-year, right? And then a similar situation, but lower down payment, lower FICO score. That borrower, the other borrower, happened to get 375. So different situations, for different scenarios for different clients.
I see. So what would you advise to the investors? Because a lot of people, they're still, on the sides, they're watching. Some of them, thinking that, let's wait. Maybe, the prices are going to drop and the rates are going to drop even more. What would you tell to those investors that are actually looking at, should they wait or should they actually start shopping right now?
Well, that's a tough question to answer as far as the investor, right? Because do I want to say it's a great time to always buy? Yeah, but if they have property now and it's a rental, who they're gonna rent it to, right? If so that's I don't think it's a great time to buy. I think owning real estate is the best asset you can possibly have. But when you speak on like, will interest rates get lower? Interest rates are already at zero. They came out and said they have no intention on raising interest rates until the market is stabilized. Stabilized we're a long way from being stabilized, right? So we're gonna have the ability to still lend low interest rates. I think what's gonna happen, you will see interest rates probably slightly get reduced, but you probably are not gonna see it for another 60 days. Not until we get back into recovery mode. The problem is this, us as banks, we're in a different position today than we were a few months ago. So when you're a bank, a mortgage banker, right, we're very different than like your Wells or your Bank of Americas. They have their own product, their portfolio, they keep it. That's their loan. Right, we're mortgage bankers. We have warehouse lines, we hold loans, we service loans, but we also sell them, right? We sell the servicing rights. So right now, there's lots of servicing companies that have issues too, where servicing companies are actually looking for some type of help from the federal government because the banking institution can't sustain itself if they give the whole world a forbearance. If everyone gets 6 of their mortgage payments, it would actually collapse our industry. But I would also tell all the listeners this one thing: if you do go into a forbearance, remember, you're signing a legal document. The forbearance is not because you just don't want to make a payment for 6 months and you have a job. The forbearance is meant if you lost your job, if you got furloughed, that's what the forbearance is for. So when you sign that paperwork, you're signing some legal documents that's stating, right? And 2, if you just purchase a property, you have to make your first 2 payments. And the reason why is because it takes at least 30 to 60 days for your loan to get that mortgage type of insurance out of it. Not mortgage insurance, but the like Fannie and Freddie stamp of approval. You have to make your first 2 mortgage payments, and then it's sold off to the servicer, which would ensure that once the loan went to that particular servicer, then if you lost your job after you made your payments, you could ask them for the forbearance.
I see. What would you advise to our sellers, people that are still on the market, that are still trying to close, or people that are just coming up on the market? What would be the words of advice for them, what they could expect?
So I would say this, right? If you're a seller, working with the top quality agent is probably the most important thing. Someone who has a calm, clear, level head, not someone who wants to be a tough negotiator, but someone who has a clear mind. Because the truth is, if it's finance, you want to make sure the lender that you're working with can close your transaction. I think it's super critical to not just say, hey, this borrower is pre-qualified, so you should take it. No, it's actually make sure the lender does the pre-underwriting first. So what we would do is we pre-underwrite our file. So when our pre-approve, it goes out. We may be a little slow on the upfront because we're doing all the back-end work first. So we close. So people are saying, hey, go to 45-day turn times. Well, we're still very much at 21 to 30 days. Our turn times don't change. But I would tell you, it's the most important thing. The most important thing is work with someone you can make sure. And I know some of these big banks, working with some of these big banks is not beneficial to a lot of borrowers. The problem is these big banks, they have to do their own forbearances. They're going to be so busy over the next 5 or 6 months that I guarantee you their loan capacity is going to slow down dramatically. So work with a mortgage professional. That is what they do is home loans.
So since we're talking about time frames, could you just give us, any changes in any other time frames we can see right now, like in refinancing?
No, so the biggest thing now is we'll clarify on Monday with just values, appraisals, right? Appraisals coming in, the appraisal going into the property. If you're selling a vacant home is much easier to go get appraised, or like even like a refinance is easy to go get appraised because the client actually wants to get their property done. So they'll safeguard, the appraisal go in there with the mask and gloves on and do the appraisal. But I think where you may see a little bit of pushback, and I just recently experienced, was one of our clients who was selling one of their investment properties, and it's the tenant inside the property. I didn't want to let the appraisal. Right, yep. So we're not really seeing a huge not seeing a huge problem with it, but up and coming there could be.
I see, and obviously, we haven't seen anything like it in our industry, but obviously it still resembles some other scenarios that we've been experiencing. what would your words of forecast, let's say, what do you think, how long this is going to last? I know nobody knows, but still, let's try.
Well, so just before we got on the phone, I was on the phone. My friend, his name is Dr. Jimenez, is my family doctor. We were having a conversation just now, probably about 30 minutes. And we're talking about this. I just think that the social distancing has honestly helped, but everyone is so super conscious of not being near one another at this point, right? It's creating distance between people. But I believe that we don't have enough testing locally going on to know how long this is going to continue. The vaccine that they're working on now is for next year. So, although it's going to slow down, I believe it'll linger around for a little while, and then we just got to get control over it. But I think we're going to see this for a while, a few years.
Okay, interesting. Thank you so much. Well, I agree with you that I am also looking forward for it to slow down and for us to actually open up and to, social distancing that we have right now. People had plenty of opportunities, to take care of themselves and their families. And hopefully by this summer, when it's nice and warm, and this weather will help people, to recover faster, and it will slow down the spread.
Yeah. Well, he was saying that too, and not to cut you, but he was saying look, once the summer gets here, it doesn't do well in the heat. So hopefully, that'll be a big difference. Especially if we have a couple of 115 degree days. But we also in our offices, we keep our offices pretty cold. So yeah.
Hey, you know what? I was looking forward to the summer as well, because I've heard several doctors were talking about it as well. So hopefully, states that are on the south, Miami, California, Las Vegas, Texas, Arizona, Utah will be, coming out of it faster, hopefully, and it will slow down the process, and then they will be able to recover. But then again, back in September, October, then there is a new wave of, diseases coming up for the winter time. So definitely hoping, to see us reopen in the summertime. Anything you would like to say before we say goodbye to our listeners?
I would just say if you're looking to save money, you want to refinance, you want to purchase a property, I would just say, I would think of this for a second here, is that when you own a property, you can make a deal with forbearance with the bank, but when you're a renter, you're trying to make a deal with the owner, but you don't know if the owner's trying to make a deal with the bank for forbearance. So as you're renting a property, I don't really believe it benefits you you have so much to worry about. You have more to worry about today as a renter than you do as an owner. Right? So if you ask the landlord, hey, I need, because the district attorney said that you're going to, I can get 6 months, but the owner can already, he could already say, I'm giving back the property and start a foreclosure proceedings, right? So there's just so much going on. But when you own your own real estate, your own property, and you have a problem, you can pick up the phone and call the servicer and work your problems out. A lot of times you can't really do that. I know you can work them out a little bit as a renter, but not like you could if you owned. So do I think it's a great time to own? Absolutely. I think it's always a great time to own real estate, because at least you have the certainty that's your home.
That is true. Well, my friends, this was Derek Parent. Thank you so much, Derek, for your time, and please come back and share this video with your friends. Lots of words of wisdom from Derek Parent, Las Vegas, Nevada, and we are looking forward to have you on our live stream again. Thank you, Derek.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.